little thingy.
Fire
I'd like to call the Village of Millville Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Mike Kramer,
Here.
Steve Baldry,
Here.
Robert Bishop,
Here.
Richard Hamilton,
Here.
Mackenzie Peters, here, Kevin Smith,
Here.
Ann Williams,
Here.
All right, please rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. So everyone should have a copy of the agenda in front of them. I would like to remove item 15 from the agenda.
Remove item 15.
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item 15.
Support.
All right, any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Anybody would like to speak? Please take the podium. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, sure. My name's Michelle Fry. Most of you know me by now. I'm here in my capacity as the Vice President of the newly formed Friends of the Middleville Area Community Library. Just to put a little bit of enlightenment into questions about, I'm sure that you're going to touch on, I see it on the agenda, but in contract with Keith Hopkins, and I'm here really to speak for Katie Binsky, who's our chapter president, that she has been our liaison with Keith Hopkins, working towards that, and is super familiar from talking with him about what he needs us for support. So when the question comes up of staff support from the village for that feasibility study, I'm just here to say we're friends of the library. We're able to help with that study, whatever Keith needs. So Katie is the touch person for that, and she can delegate to the rest of the Friends of the Library. So I would just encourage you to please help us, keep the momentum going. We're getting lots of good feedback from people that want to see this project move forward. So that's all I have, unless you have questions for me, or you can't ask me questions, can you?
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, moving on. Mr. Mears. Welcome, Brandon.
Good afternoon. Nice to see you all. Thanks. I'll start with the big project going on at High Street right now. So work's proceeding as planned. So the contractor seems to be doing a good job, BNL there. So they've done projects with our office in here in the past. So happy to see them back out there, and they're doing a great job so far. Dearborn, that's looking pretty good there. So I know that we had some punch list items. Looks like they've worked through that. So we're very close to being able to close that out on our end. I think they're working still with the school as the school does more work to get that portion topped, but that's not related. That's not really related to our work. So that's looking good there too. Dearborn, was that Dearborn or 3rd Street there? Excuse me.
Yeah, 3rd Street's by the school.
Yep. So that's the 3rd Street. So Dearborn's also looking very good. I was just, excuse me. I got my notes here. I should consult my notes here. So Dearborn, I think they just need to put a little more riprap and fill behind the curb on the south side, or excuse me, on the north side of that road, or the bottom end, the downstream end of the culvert. So other than that, it's looking really good. The restoration's coming in. So we'll get after them pretty soon to take down the silt fence and things like that too. I know it's a pet peeve of mine when silt fence and these soil erosion measures stay in place too long or never get removed. I mean, where I live, the backyard of my house, there's still some silt fence from 2012 that's back there. So that's looking good. So we talked about 3rd Street. Ongoing projects, Irving, the water main. So we've had survey out, getting started on that Irving Road project there. We're looking into Dearborn, a possible water main crossing or a water main lining. So I'm not sure if this board has been made aware of this technology, but there is a company in Michigan called Furpal, and they have been going around lining water mains.
Yeah,
So-
I haven't given any information on
So is that similar to lining a sewer main?
It is similar to lining a sewer main. So they're able to go in and they can, just like if there's root intrusion or protruding laterals in a sanitary sewer, they can take a rotating saw blade and they can clean out the line, they can clean out scale. There's also a chemical treatment they apply. And then, so they will run a temporary water main on the surface next to the project to keep people in water while they do this. So we have a project in design, has not been bid yet, for the city of Portage, where they're going to line a water main that goes under a creek. And that allows us to just do that work without having to get Eagle permits involved and things like that too. So it's really attractive from that point, from that standpoint. East Grand Rapids has been doing this, and FERPAL had some people from our office and other communities there for a demonstration to see this in action. So it is similar. It's a little bit different type of resin, but it's the same basic idea. So we'll look at that for the river crossing possibly, because I know it was difficult to get the water main across and the bridge project because of the cobble and things like that in the geology of this area. So that could be very interesting here.
So we're only doing that in areas where we know we don't have any possible lead services?
Right now, it's in the stages of planning. Not necessarily. We still could go through and replace all the lead surfaces and do the lining, and it still might be cheaper to do that. The biggest restriction we have is if we have to do most of our water main, our good share of our water main is undersized. So
Yeah.
we're upsizing. So
Yep.
if we can replace any water main that doesn't need to be upsized, that is where the lining would be a perfect candidate for.
Right, like you said, there could be a lead service there, and you could just simply abandon that, reestablish a new corp stop, in there, just abandon the old one and put a new one in and still line that line. So that would work as well. So the bridges, I provided some information on the budget in a less formal email. The formal proposal is in my inbox, waiting for my review. So I will get that here to the village in case you do want to get started on design, have a shovel-ready project. I know that's one thing to talk about. So we haven't incurred any costs up to this point. We'll let you know what you might expect to get some plans and specs prepared to replace those two bridges. One of them, the covered bridge, and so we've got that as well. The drinking water asset management plan, as you know, last fall, we looked at over 120 services potholes. So there's a little bit of follow-up paperwork now required as part of that. So I'm providing a little bit of support to staff, getting the contract and the list and the information from the bidding and all that to them so they can certify that requirement with the state. So, but that was a very successful project. All right. Any questions of me while I'm here?
Only one, Mr. President. Parking lot, how's the progress on that coming along?
Yeah, we submitted plans for the retaining wall replacement to BNL, and we were expecting that they would have that priced, and we have not yet submitted a price. I just talked to Alec and David, and Alec particularly. We have not seen a price. So that's I presume that's the parking lot you're talking about.
Yes.
So I'm hoping any time they're a little overdue to get a price for us. I don't know if they're working with Ready Rock. I mean, that's provided by Grand River Concrete, I believe it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Only because, I mean, we are right in the middle of the high street right now.
Oh, I know, that's, the intent was for,
Ideal,
yeah, so we asked them to price it, thinking they're already mobilized, they'd probably give us the best price and they can do it. So I'm still optimistic that they're gonna give us a price that's gonna be acceptable, we're gonna be able to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so
So-
Grand Rapids Gravel is the manufacturers of that block locally.
Anybody else? All right, thanks, Brandon.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have Ms. LaBar. Veronica, welcome.
Thank you. So you said my name is Veronica Labar. I am the regional manager with MRSA Michigan. So I work with Craig to make sure that you all understand your plan if you have any questions about it. I have a lot of information that I could share today, including a presentation that I put together. However, based on feedback, it sounds like perhaps you want a little bit more abbreviated version. So I think what I'd like to do is share some basics about just conversationally how the DB plan works, the assumptions that are put into the funding for the DB plan, some changes to the assumptions that are used in this report as compared to last year, and then go over some key tables in this report to help you see how the health of your plan is progressing, and then have you ask any questions you have at that point. Sound good? Okay, great. All right, so I love the name of I'm going to talk for a minute before we go forward. Thank you, Rhonda. I love the name of the defined benefit plan because to me, the name says it all. Unlike a 401k style plan where, the employer may contribute 5% of the employee's pay and the employee might contribute 5% of the employee's pay. And then based upon how it performs in the investment market, they have that pot of money at the end. The defined, and we don't know how much that's going to be depending upon market returns and how long it's going to last them. The defined benefit plan kind of works in the opposite way. We know what the benefit is going to be for each person because it's based on a 3-part formula of their final average compensation multiplied by their years of service and multiplied by a benefit multiplier. Right now, the only division within the village that has active employees enrolled in it has a 1.5% benefit multiplier. Anecdotally, if you've got a career employee working for the village right now, and I define career as 30 years, with that formula, it will provide them with about a 43% income replacement rate if they've worked here for that full career time. Investment professionals, retirement planning professionals generally tell you to anticipate 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income being something that you need in a retirement to maintain that same standard of living. So that 43% plus Social Security and any other personal savings that they have is a good step in that direction. So the benefit is defined, and it is going to last that employee their lifetime. From the time they retire, they'll receive a check every day until the day they die. So finding out how much money is needed to fund that benefit takes some assumptions and projections, right? We have to figure out or project how much those people are going to be making when they retire. So we have a wage inflation assumption. We need to project at what age they're going to retire and how long we expect them to live so that we know for how many years we're going to be paying them that benefit. And then we also have to take the contributions that are going into the plan, both the employer and the employee contribute to your plan, and we invest them long term. And so we have to have an investment rate of return assumption. How much do we think those contributions are going to earn in the market so that when those retirement benefits are due, the money is there to pay those benefits out? Those assumptions are built into your annual actuarial valuation report, which you get every year. It is actually a snapshot of 12/31/2023. So whatever was in your account at that point, as far as your assets, is what's reflected. Market gains or losses since that point are not reflected in this report. In the 2022 report, we used a 7% assumed rate of return for the investments. So one of the things I want to point out that's different in this report than in the past report is we have reduced that investment rate of return assumption down to 6.93%. That means that if we're projecting that fewer assets are going to come from the investment earnings, then a little bit more is going to have to come from contributions. Now, we have a policy called dedicated gains. And what we have done in this report is invoke it's an automatic policy, our dedicated gains policy. That means our previous investment return assumption was 7%, okay? Any gains over and above that 7% are typically smooth forward for 5 years. By a certain year, we say we recognize 1/5 of them in this report, and then 1/5 of them in each of the next 4 reports, and so on with each year. So that instead of investment returns and losses affecting your contribution like this, it kind of averages it out more. And it's a more accurate picture considering, like I said, this report is as of a specific date in time, and that's not always reflective of an entire year's experience. So using the dedicated gains policy, instead of smoothing forward all of the returns from 2023, which was not quite 11%, we took the first 7%, which was our assumed rate of return, smoothed it forward, and then recognized a good portion of the remainder in your fund balance immediately to increase your funded level in this report, thereby offsetting any future unfunded accrued liability that could be incurred when we say, we don't think investments are going to earn quite as much going forward. So thereby, we have reduced the investment return assumption slightly in this report. Using the dedicated gains, we've offset the impact to your employer contributions to the plan this year. But going forward, the normal cost of your plan, which is the cost for each person in the plan to earn one more year of service under the plan, will be incrementally higher because it will be projected using that 6.93% assumed rate of return. Any questions on that before I dig into your report?
Very, very quickly, the smoothing, I just have a couple questions about the smoothing, right? So you're lowering the rate of return on invested assets, is that correct?
We're not lowering the rate of return on invested assets. What we're doing is recognizing within this report. So this report is an actuarial report, right? Your market value of assets, the actual dollars in your account, are reflected in the statement of fiduciary net position that you get on a quarterly and annual basis. The numbers in this report use that smoothing, they use the assumptions, and they are 110% of your market value of assets right now. To put it in perspective, we find a paragraph here that's going to provide some numbers for you. So when you smooth forward, again, instead of having, dramatic ups and downs in the contributions that are required in this report, the smoothing makes it more predictable, less dramatic, and
Just from my perspective, smoothing that, taking out the assumptions of radical rises and lowering of return,
yes,
which is what you're referring to.
yes,
You're smoothing those peaks and valleys out.
yes.
You're assuming a lower rate of return.
And right now, we are assuming a lower rate of return, and the reason we're assuming a lower rate of return is because we are still smoothing in the market losses from 2022.
Okay.
So if you remember, 2022 was a bad year for investments, but instead of your employer contributions feeling the full impact of that, we smooth that out, recognize 1/5 of that in that year and 1/5 in each of the following years for 5 years. And so we're still seeing a little bit of the losses from 2022 for the next couple of years.
Okay. And then to offset that, the requirement, and again, going on what you said, this is a predictable return, right? At the end of a predictable benefit at the end of the
Yes,
at the end of the journey.
yes,
You're smoothing the rate of return, compensating for 2022, and then you are also assuming greater employee contribution in order to help with that smoothing. Is that accurate?
Employer contribution.
Employer contribution?
yes. The employee contribution is fixed.
Okay.
That is a fixed amount. The employer contribution does fluctuate.
I have bad hearing, so it's like, yeah.
Same.
So I thought I heard employee, but it's employer
Employer,
contribution is greater.
yes.
All
So
right.
we smooth these numbers out to calculate our unfunded liability, correct?
We smooth them out. So to put some numbers to it, the smoothed rate of return in this report, 2023 report, was 5.54%, whereas the market rate of return, or the actuarial, the actual market rate of return used in this report was 10.94%, right? But so that was 2023, this was 2022. We smooth them so that it's more consistent and more predictable.
And what level of funding generally are you considering between now and, I guess, 3 years from now? I mean, our goal would be to be as close to 100% funded.
You're making good progress toward that goal. Why don't we take a look at those numbers right now, and that might answer your question.
All right. Sorry.
No problem. No,
These
I
were
like
just like the
questions.
hot buttons that when I read through it, there's only a few of them, but this was one of them, by the way.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very good. Page 6, Rhonda. Your funded ratio is
What page was that?
page 6.
Yep.
So you can see that your funded ratio in 2023 is significantly higher than it was in 2022. It's now 88% funded. So you have made great strides in that time, and that is even taking into consideration those market losses from 2022. So you have made great strides there. You can look at the next page, page 7. Your projected employer contributions to the plan are broken down by division. And I say projected employer contributions for your open division, Division 12, which all of your new hires are being enrolled in. You're billed as a percent of payroll for that division. So it's a projected amount because your payroll is going to change as new employees come and go as their rates of pay change. For your closed divisions, you are billed as a flat dollar amount versus as a percent of payroll, because of course the payroll is, in your case, non-existent. You don't have any active employees in those divisions.
But we still fund them?
Yes.
Okay, and that big question mark was, I don't know where the Teamsters fit into the village. Do we have someone in the past that's been,
So
Yeah, we have
Teamsters
people
are
collecting.
included in the all new hires after 1/15.
say that again,
So yeah, we've got Teamsters from the past that
that are still collecting?
that are retired.
That's fair.
Yep.
I'm just trying to understand
And then the rest of the current employed Teamsters are included with the all new hires after 1/15.
when those benefits end, do those funds disappear?
The funds that are in your plan will never disappear. They're still the village's funds. So if, for an example, there's a division where the last retiree passes away, there's no one to pay that benefit to, those funds stay in your plan and are for you to use.
To move around?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, and then it decreases our unfunded liability because now that money goes to the remaining people
Right.
that are drawing off the fund.
Right.
Got it. All right.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thanks. That's
Very
what,
good.
that answers a lot of questions.
Good. And to the point about the employee contribution rate, in the smaller table below that, you can see that the active division, which is Division 12, has a 4.5% employee contribution rate, and that does not fluctuate. We talked about smoothing a little bit. At the bottom of page 9, there's another explanation of asset smoothing and how that spreads investment gains and losses over years to avoid those spikes. And again, the smoothed rate of return used in this valuation is 5.54%.
Essentially, that's a management tool.
Pardon me?
Smoothing is a management tool, so you can make better decisions on what's going on.
That's a good description. Yep.
Tool.
It is, and it's an
For
actuarial
management.
best practice. It's not something that just MERS does. It's something that,
Everybody does.
Mhm. Yep.
Would you adjust that smoothing number if rates of return remain north of 10% or north of 8% over time? Is
The
that-
smoothing number does adjust every year.
Okay.
It takes into account the actual market returns and then factors in those past market gains and losses. And so there's a new smooth rate of return in every report. I'm going to draw your attention to the top of page 12 because this looks at your projected funding percentage. The top row in this table uses the 6.93% assumed rate of return in this report. So if you look at the top row there, you see for the valuation year ending 12/31/2023, for your fiscal year beginning January 1, 2025, it shows your actuarial accrued liability, the valuation assets that are on hand to pay for those, which again is 110% of the market value of assets, and then your funded percentage at 88%. And I want to show you that if you look down that funded percentage column, you do see that that funded percentage is projected to tick down in each of the next 4 years, and that is taking into consideration that smoothing those losses from 2022. Those are going to continue to be smoothed in, and then you see it starting to come back up again.
So if we continue to keep this funded north of 90% or between 95%, and we just aim for that percentage, most of these numbers become
Yeah, these are just projections.
projection. Yeah.
The village has been
You're
putting
assuming that
in,
we're going to just not add or catch up our fund. Is that what you're saying?
this assumes that you make the minimum contribution that we just showed on the previous
Yeah,
table.
right.
If you continue to make additional contributions, it's not going to look like this.
Okay.
You're going to be funded a lot faster,
Wonderful.
okay?
Well, in all fairness, 10 years ago, it was not going to look like this, and here we are.
Well,
So
actually,
this isn't the first time we've had this discussion.
10 years ago, we were close to 101% funded, which changed, which basically we put the brakes on nearly everything. Like we just did the minimum, I would assume, or even slightly lower. Based on how we-
made at least 2 additional contributions at the end of the year. I think 2016 and 2019, we made additional contributions.
Those
And
are,
it
those are
was-
one of
and
the
we're
tables
still
we'll
at-
look at.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're still at 8%.
yeah. This last one really jumped us from like 70% up to 88%,
80 to 88.
80 to 88.
Mhm.
So, it was doing very well. I think we were actually just being cognizant of the fact of whatever tools were being used at that point to keep it 100% funded. So
Yeah,
I think that'll over time lower the spread out burden. We're just making like these $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 contributions once every 5 years versus maybe we just make a contribution to keep
But
it.
we can't say we're gonna have additional, as long as we meet the minimum, we can't, like this past year, we did a $250,000 contribution.
Right.
Who's to say in future years, we won't need to lower that because of unforeseen circumstances where we need to pay something. As long as we're meeting the minimum, sounds like we'll be in good shape. I'm not saying we can't do additional, but I don't think that's something we can commit to, obviously.
And these projections don't, just to reiterate, these projections do not assume that you make anything other than the minimum.
Right.
Gotcha. All right. That is good information. Thanks.
You're welcome.
One quick question, just for clarification for the council. If you can hit on, ideally, everybody would be 100% funded, but MERS as a whole, where do you like to see your employers ideally percentage-wise, like nothing below 70%, nothing below 80%, if you're above a certain percentage, or?
That really isn't something that we say. Obviously, as the fiduciary for the plan, our goal is to look out for the participants in the plan, right? And so we are saying that this is the amount that we project is needed in order to fund it. So do we want you to be 100% funded? Absolutely. Do we want to help you get towards 100% funded? Absolutely. Is there going to be UAL that develops from year to year? Absolutely. UAL being unfunded accrued liability. I'm sorry. I have to not use the acronyms, but they're so natural to me.
Even in what I've read, there's programs there's communities that are less than 60% funded. There's programs to catch them up and so on and so forth. So it's obviously we don't want to be that community, but it's interesting. This smoothing thing is interesting. It'll be interesting to see what kind of a burden that puts on the funding in the future. Because I don't know if it's, once we get rid of 2022, it's been fairly consistent. I think we're picking up where we left off between 20 and 22. There was a big gully there. So
And what we typically say too is it's less important to focus on a specific number. Which direction are you moving, right? Are you 80% funded and losing ground? Or are you 80% funded and gaining ground? Those are two different 80% funded. So that's why I hesitate to put a number on it because it's more nuanced than that. And again, it's really the direction you're going. And with what the village has been doing, you're all moving in the right direction right now. Okay, I would like to take a moment and look at table 1 on page 15. Again, this just breaks down, again, the cost of the plan. Those open division, Division 12 is shown as a percent of payroll because there is a payroll. And so the total normal cost for Division 12 is 8.56% of payroll. The employees contribute 4.5% to that, right? So that makes the employer's portion of that normal cost 4.06%. In addition to that, for this particular division, there is a 0.13% payment towards the unfunded accrued liability in the plan, bringing the total percent of payroll for that division that the employer is paying to 4.19%. Now, we also show some things with blended rates because you had previous divisions with different funded levels, and they're all now, new hires are all going into one. So that's a budgeting tool, showing it as a blended division there. The rest of the divisions are shown as dollar amounts because, again, they are closed divisions. Let's skip ahead to Table 3. And just one thing I want to point out to you in Table 3 before we focus on the total row in here is that you have 0 active employees in any of your divisions except for Division 12. So all of your active employees are in that new division that has that 1.5% multiplier. So total, you have 13 active employees in that division. You have 3 vested former employees. Those are employees who worked here long enough to vest in their benefit, but they're no longer employed here. So when they are age and service eligible, they are expected to begin drawing that benefit as soon as they reach that point. You have 14 retirees and beneficiaries. That's 2 more than last year. So that is a good thing for your plan to show that, that additional funding that you did last year was helpful because you had 2 more retirees drawing down from the plan. So not only is money going in, but more money's coming out when you have more retirees, right? And then you have 5 pending refunds. Pending refunds, that's a fancy way of saying those are folks who worked here not long enough to vest in the plan, but they did make those employee contributions to the plan. So unless they ultimately vest either by future employment here again or coordinating through MERS to MERS time with another employer to get that vesting service, they can take those contributions back out of the plan at any time. We do not calculate that they are not included in the calculated liability for the plan.
So floating account to get, it could be refunded. They could just ask for the lump sum at the end of their employment.
They could, and they could become vested again through working with another MERS employer, and then they would become a liability to the plan. Let's see. Table 4 just reiterates the market value of assets. If somebody is trying to reconcile with the statement of fiduciary net position you get each year, these numbers match that year-end statement of fiduciary net position. Those are the actual dollars going in and out of your account. Once again, the rest of the numbers used in this report are the actuarial value of assets, which are 110% of the market value of assets. You'll also see that the employee contributions are kind of listed in a separate bucket from the employer and retiree. And once again, that's because they can take those contributions out at any time, any employee when they leave, whether they're vested or not. They have the right to take those contributions back, but if they do, they lose their benefit.
I apologize for this. This may seem like a stupid question, but if there's an asset valuation in closed divisions, does it not make sense to move those assets into a space where we are using those divisions? I mean, again, I don't have any tea leaves here, but if there's no more, and I'm going to use the Teamsters division, if we don't anticipate hiring any more Teamster employees, is there a particular reason why we would need to have assets in that class?
Yes, I'll talk about that in Table 6.
Perfect.
Okay, Table 5, I like to discuss too. That's the flow of valuation assets. So it shows using those valuation assets, the money going in and out of your plan. So the line you want to focus on in this table is really that last line because that's 2023. So you can see what your required employer contributions were, just over $68,000. You can see that you made additional contributions of over $250,000 or $260,000 to the plan. The employee contributions were almost 35,000. And then you can see that investment income that was credited towards the plan, and that is based at that smoothed rate of return. You can see the benefit payments going out of the plan. And so if you look up that column, you can see how those benefit payments going out to retirees have increased over time as your plan has matured. You have 13 active employees. You have, I think, 14 retirees and 5 vested pending. So your plan is going to become more mature. And in future years, as those folks do retire, you are going to see more going out of the plan and benefit payments, which will also impact the contributions required to the plan. And you can see that somebody did, in fact, take a refund of their employee contributions last year. That's noted in that column. Okay, to your question, table 6. In this table, you see the breakdown of all of your divisions, and then you can see, we'll look at your general division, Division 1, just as a point of reference. There are no active employees, so there is no actuarial accrued liabilities for active employees for that division. There are some vested former employees. There are retirees and beneficiaries who are currently drawing benefits, and that's the total actuarial accrued liability for them. That's how much we think they're going to cost your plan over their lifetimes. No pending refunds. So your total accrued liability for that division is just over $1 million, and your valuation assets for that division are just over $1 million. So that division is 99.4% funded. And that's why you're going to want to keep those assets in those divisions where you don't have active employees, because there's still a liability for that division, even though you don't have active employees in that division. And then it breaks it down on a divisional level for each of those. Division 20, police non-union, I believe you have 1 retiree left in that division. So that division is not very well funded, but you do only have the 1 retiree in that division, and we'll just continue to bill you for that to make sure that there's at least 3 years worth of benefits in that division. And then again, once that division there's no one in that division anymore, those assets are yours to redistribute. The last table I'll draw your attention to is table 7, and just because we talked about it a little bit, this is the history of your funded percentage. And you were talking about how you were 100% funded or more back in 2009, and you were. And then you can see how the plan's liability and assets have changed over the years. It did dip down, and you can see that you have been making significant strides in the last 3 years to bring your funded level back up. So those are the points that I wanted to share with you. Do you all have any questions on anything I shared? Was it short enough?
I love that.
Good.
Magic.
Good.
Very thorough.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This was a great report, by the way.
Good.
It was really easy to understand
Good.
and clear, and as I went through it, it seemed to flow very well. And I'm glad that those touch points certainly led to global questions about the rest of it. So it was very well done. I appreciate your work on that.
Thank you very much, and I'll share your feedback with our actuarial team as well.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Veronica.
Have a great night.
Yep, see you in October.
Okay.
And Glormar too.
Good night.
Thanks, have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.
All right, now we are on to our 2024 second quarter report. Glormar, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Here's our second quarter report. As you can see, our revenues are doing a lot better, but also our expenditures. And this report, different from the previous one, we can see the cash flow coming from Michigan class after you guys approve us to invest with them. You can see that is doing very good on that part. And if you have any questions about this report, we'll be happy to answer.
The only question I have, I'm sorry, Mr. President, may I ask a question?
It's committee of the whole, have next stuff, or next stuff up.
Going through the report, there were some, maybe this is in something different here. Give me 1 second here. There is a normal, abnormal, available balance in the spreadsheet. Is this still part of the same thing?
I'm sorry?
There's a normal and then in parentheses, abnormal, increase, decrease. It's on your spreadsheet.
Bottom right corner should give you the page so that.
Yeah,
Veronica can
please.
see the rest of us.
Yeah, I apologize. It's page 60. I'm just using 66 as an example. This is still part of the same report, right?
I don't have a 66 pages report.
It's on your
That might be.
review and
adjustment.
expenditure report for Village of Middleville. Yeah.
So way down there.
That might be the next topic.
It might be the next topic, though.
Yes.
Revenue versus expenses in this one.
That's for the budget
Budget.
amendment.
I'm one ahead. Sorry, I skipped over that. I must have skipped that cover sheet.
Don't
I
do
did.
that to me.
Sorry.
I mean,
Report looks beautiful.
thank you very much. I was like, what? Other than that, any questions? Okay.
We give you praise all the time when you're not here. I figure it might give it to you in person. That you are doing a remarkable job, by the way.
Thank you very much.
We really appreciate this.
It's-
So skillfully done and very easy and to digest. So thank
It's
you.
a team effort too. I've been having a lot of people helping, so it's a good thing.
It's
I
fantastic.
don't feel so alone, so.
You don't want to be alone in these
No,
numbers.
not at all.
Safety numbers.
All right, so we are good on the second quarter report. All right, we'll move on to the budget adjustments.
Okay, in front of you guys is Resolution 2417 for your consideration to do some budget adjustments after the second quarter report. They are described as part of your resolution. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain.
So page 66.
Let's go to page
And I just for clarity and with the terminology that you're using,
Mhm.
you're showing normal and abnormal. Explain to me, is that,
You're on page 87.
No, well, I didn't know if you meant 66 of
The packet?
Of the-
Or 66
66 of the
Packet.
packet?
66 of the
Whatever's
packet.
online here,
Okay.
yeah.
Got you. That one?
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Just on the headers. There's normal and abnormal.
Got you.
Can you just explain, just so that we're on the same page on what,
I think the normal are the positive numbers and the abnormal might be if you are over budget.
got it. So that would be, okay, that's
Mhm.
exactly what I thought it was, but I just wanted to clarify. So parentheses are, we're over budget on that particular, on what we anticipated in our 2024 budget.
Correct.
So
Yes.
those are items that we.
As
are
well
certain-
as revenue.
Yeah.
Is that you have more than you budgeted for.
Okay.
So, yeah,
And that's displayed in the percent of budget used.
Yes.
that too.
It's also covered in her report
Pretty
towards the
simple.
front of it.
Yep, towards the front, yep.
Yep.
I just wanted to get clarity on the,
Terminology.
yep.
Thanks, Glorma.
Good
All
job.
right.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
any other questions or comments? If not, I will move that we add resolution 2417 to our regular council agenda for the next meeting.
Support.
We have a motion with support to add resolution 2417 to the next council agenda, the regular agenda. Any further discussion before we vote?
Yeah.
I was looking for that thing. Just killed a bug.
Meeting adjourned.
Do you want me to pull that back so we can do an adjustment for insect control?
My goodness gracious.
Craig wants to go home for dinner.
So you can put in the newspaper murderous clerk.
What I know with that, so.
All caught up, Rhonda?
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion with support to move Resolution 2417 to the regular council agenda at the next meeting. Any other discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have the library feasibility study. So, I have the paper from me, but essentially what we have is we have a contract between the village and, I can't remember his name.
Keith Hopkins.
Keith Hopkins.
Yep, and I can give, I told him I'd give him a call if you guys had questions, so we can put him on speakerphone, and if that works for you, if you want to hold off.
See if we have questions. I think we might be okay on this one.
Okay.
So essentially, you want to take this? You want to just come up and talk? If you want to. I mean, you came all the way here. You might as well. All right. Well, the library committee or the library, Friends of the Library have already accumulated enough funds to pay for this study. So what we need is the village to be able to receive the report, and the library committee will take care of administering the study. But in order to move forward with this, and when it's done, the village needs to receive this study so that we can, there's steps to it. He's explained it a couple times, but it's been a while. But it's the first step in the process, just like we were doing the master plan for the park across the street, for the baseball park,
It's a prerequisite for any grant.
for any grants that we want to apply for.
Um,
So,
And then we can be the fiduciary for that, and then we can bill the Friends of the Library Committee and the school at the same time, whatever their portion are, we can do that.
Mr. President, go ahead.
no, you're good.
My only concern is, and we did raise this up before, and he's had, I mean, a minute to do the adjustments, is that this proposal is out of date. So,
Well,
with the timelines. Now, granted, that's our problem too, but again, we are entering into an agreement, and it would be really nice to see current projections as to, when monies are due, et cetera, because right now this proposal hasn't been refreshed, and I can't imagine it's such an extraordinary amount of work that he couldn't have just adjust it and send it to us. So, I'm compelled just simply because we did have questions about, where lines in the sand are to be drawn and in terms of responsibility and things like that. Now you made it very clear that you've got staff, you're going to show support. I think this is a level of detail that this is not an insignificant amount of money for such a study. I would really highly recommend that he keep his document up to date and refresh it for us to approve. I don't have a problem with the funding, by the way.
so
I just have a problem with just keeping up with
Well, I
the
agree
timeline.
with.
to speak to that, in all fairness, this is the second time, no, third time he's updated this document. So to move forward, I think we should move this to the regular council agenda for approval and then let him update it one last time so we're not wasting his time.
Yeah.
Because this gentleman has been very patient with us.
Great. Well,
So make a motion to move this to the regular agenda for approval, warranting that he'll update the document
You want to do it the next meeting or the
at
second
the
meeting?
next regular meeting.
We have to do packet Thursday or Friday for the next regular meeting. Today's Wednesday.
It's going to be
So the
tough for
end of
him
the
to
month.
get that done. So
The fourth
Yeah.
meeting.
I mean,
then.
isn't it just one, it's 3 words.
I was gonna say, is
If-
it honestly just a date?
Let me see,
It
I
might
want
just
to
be the
see
date.
For him, that he can have that ready for my packet by tomorrow.
He's maybe on vacation or something.
That's all.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can be in touch with Katie.
I
So
don't have to put a date in here when I do
Okay.
it. I can
At
say
the
in
next
motion that it's
available-
That an upcoming meeting, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
Say full council.
so the motion's made.
So what is the motion?
I'll support. The motion is to move the approval of this document to the next available council meeting.
Once he's updated it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then you'll have an updated. You'll have an updated document to look at for that meeting.
Correct.
So any further discussion before we vote?
I'm on board with it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So then either the next meeting or the following meeting, we'll have an updated document from Keith and we will make the appropriate motion to approve it and approve Craig to sign all documents, I think is what we need in that one. So
I
thank
think it
you.
has you on there, but that's okay. We'll
Either
figure it
or.
out. Yep.
One of us will sign it.
Yep.
All right. Now we are moving on to the sale of surplus property. Mr. Belson. Welcome, Alec.
Good evening, afternoon. So what you guys have in front of you is the sale of our 1997 street sweeper. Can't tell you exactly when, I'm say early 2000s, mid 2000s, the village brought the street sweeper used. And then we used it every year since then. Over the last, we haven't used it in about 2 years. Prior to that, we were spending roughly between $2,000 and $5,000 a year just in maintenance. That's not manpower operating the sweeper or anything like that. That's just maintenance cost. At that time, I looked into contracting it. It's costing us roughly $5,000 just to contract and pay a company to come in once a year and sweep or spot sweeps as needed. So since that time, we've just been contracting a company to come in and do that. We have not used it. My recommendation at this point is to continue contracting a new street sweeper somewhere between $175,000 and $350,000. Return on investment would be massive to justify that. So as of right now, I'm asking to move on to full council resolution 2418 to approve the sale to publicly sell the street sweeper in a closed bid with a reserve of $3,500.
So moved.
Support.
We don't need to move this to regular council, do we?
That's totally your call.
Resolution. It's a resolution, so.
I mean, we have the
I mean,
option of just passing,
you
it, just letting him sell it,
can
right?
do it.
Resolution should be
I mean,
It
it's gonna go
shouldn't.
out,
regular.
it's gonna go
But-
to auction
Can
for,
it-
what, 30 days? So-
Yeah. It's just gonna go, we're gonna post it in the paper for sealed bid of a couple weeks of return sealed bid. And I guess I might be wrong, Veronica, but could they just put it in the consent agenda if they so
You could put
wish?
in consent agenda. It's not going to go to the paper any faster because the deadline for the paper is today. So it wouldn't, it's not like it'd go in the paper this weekend instead of next weekend.
So next available.
So, yeah, you can just, usually what you do, your motions are just that you bring it to full council for approval. You just decide whether you want to consent or, and I don't think you can
I
put a
don't think you can
resolution
put a
to
resolution to
consent.
consent.
No,
It's gotta
you
go
can't put a
regular.
resolution to consent.
I was
No,
wondering.
sorry.
So,
No,
it-
you can't.
yeah, we just put it on the next full
Next
council.
Yeah.
Because it's not gonna change when it sells.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Good. There it is.
So motion with support?
Yep.
To
Yeah.
put it on the next regular agenda? Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Uniform contract?
Yes, uniform contract. So the past 7 years, we've been contracting with Cintas Uniform Company for providing uniforms for the Public Works Department. Earlier this year, I knew our contract was coming up in October. I just started to explore, shop around just to double check and check their prices, make sure keep them honest before we re-up the contract. With doing that, I contacted 3 different uniform companies, and Cintas being included in them. I was able to get a quote back from Cintas and UniFirst. My recommendation, I guess, if council so chooses differently, let me know. Right now, the guys are in a gray shirt with some navy pants. I would like to move everybody into a high visibility shirt, so they're on that all the time. Takes away from having to wear a vest. If they forget the vest, if something happens, we're constantly working in the roadway or near the roadway. This provides a lot higher safety factor for them. Right now, we are purchasing some T-shirts for them in the summertime that are high visibility, just so it's a little cooler for them out there working all day. If we were to move forward with this contract, we would not have to do that because some of the shirts that we're getting are designed a lot more breathable shirt. No, not through Cintas, through UniFirst. Yes, so what I provided in the packet, and forgive me for some of these, they're kind of the original Cintas proposal that was actually in the original packet was a little confusing. I actually had to call them and have that explained to me.
essentially we would be saving, if we stayed with our current uniforms and not change at all, with a new Cintas contract, we'd be saving $6.03 a week. So instead of, we'd be paying $112 a week is what we would be paying. If we just re-up the contract, did nothing different, it'd be $112 a week. Through contacting Cintas, they were able to, late last week, give me an email, which you have a paper copy on your desk. If we were to change to Cintas high visibility shirts, that would increase to $295 a week through Cintas. Speaking with UniFirst and contacting them, if we were to do all high visibility shirts and similar pants to what we have, it'd be roughly about $162 a week. So it's roughly about a $45 or $49 a week increase from what we're paying right now. So about $1,600 a year increase from what we're paying right now to put the guys in high visibility shirts. We are working with them on, I do have contracts available. I didn't bring them with me because I plan on moving this full council. If you so choose, I could put those contracts in the next packet if council is interested in moving forward with UniFirst. Any questions or would like further explanation with anything?
Do those high visibility shirts negate safety vests?
Yes. So they would have the reflective striping on them and the high visibility yellow. So they would, you wouldn't have to wear safety vests. So one of my things is we provide coats for the guys in the wintertime, high visibility coats for when they're working out in the road and stuff. If they're in a truck, they should have their coat with them, but they're probably not wearing it. It's probably sitting in the truck. Possibility, they get out of the truck, they should be putting the coat on so they're visible, but humans, we make mistakes. They have the shirts on.
Doesn't matter.
Don't matter. If they have the coat on or not have the coat on, they'll be okay.
Gotcha.
So, and it's my main thing for the high visibility is safety. That's the only reason I'm even proposing this.
Into the values you gave per week, that doesn't include the extra shirts and stuff that you buy outside of Cintas.
We would not be buying them. So,
Right. So that
correct.
number doesn't factor into the extra that you pay for.
That extra 1,600, that
Right.
does factor that in there. I did factor that in
Oh, I
there.
see.
So I
Okay.
took that money we took out, so we're gonna be paying quite a bit extra. I subtracted the
Okay,
money that we spend on shirts, and that's about $1,600 a year.
yeah, okay.
That's
Good idea.
Yeah, well, I'll make a motion to approve UNIFirst.
UniFirst.
UniFirst contract to be moved to regular council meeting
For high visibility, right?
for high visibility
For high visibility, yep.
uniforms.
Yep, that's the
quote
that
was given, was the high
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion with support to move the contract approval to the next council meeting. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. DPW vehicle purchase.
Okay, next. So currently, the DPW department, we have 4 pickup trucks. We have multiple pieces of equipment. But we have 4 pickup trucks that we use on a daily basis. One of those trucks is a service truck that has the tool beds on it, a crane on it that helps us pull lift station pumps and various other tasks. The other 3 trucks are just standard pickup trucks. We use those for getting around from A to B, hauling trailers, hauling equipment, things like that. Currently, our pickup truck fleet, we have a 2001, a 2004, the 2013 is our service truck, and then our 2016. So our newest truck is about 8 years old. There's various different communities around us that have been participating in the My Deal program for several years, which we have too. What they have been doing over the last several years is they have been purchasing trucks. We are able to buy the trucks at a discounted rate than our normal public can because of this My Deal program that's statewide that we're a part of. They've been buying the trucks and then selling them the very next year. So with doing that is they may pay $1,000 or $2,000 a year to flip the trucks, or they may pay nothing or make a little money, depending on the year and the market of what's going on. But what there is there's zero maintenance with the trucks.
you're constantly turning the trucks over. So you're paying let's say you're paying $1,000 a year to turn a truck over, but you constantly have a new truck. There's no tires, no oil changes, or there's some oil changes, but very, very little maintenance to be done with that. We tried this in 2016 when we bought that truck.
It doesn't seem like it's been that long.
I know.
really
Honestly,
made out of that
when I
deal.
just said 8 years, I'm like, wow, yeah, it's 8 years. Okay.
Roll it over.
Yeah. At the time, it was decided to wait 2 years for the truck instead of selling it after the first year. It's decided to wait 2 years, and we purchased a standard work truck, nothing special, a single cab work truck, roll up windows. So in 2018, we attempted to sell a truck. It was going to cost the village about $4,500 to sell that truck and replace it. Justification of replacing a 2-year-old truck for $4,500, that's a hard pill to swallow. So at the time, we chose not to. What I'm asking council to consider tonight is to allow staff to purchase the truck and to purchase it with a couple higher end options. I'm not saying high end, but I'm not saying a basic work truck. A marketable truck that is a crew cab, not a single cab. That is a mid-range package. So when we go sell it, we can sell it to the average public that might be interested in it, not just a contractor. So that will help our resale value is my goal. So then we could continue on. So this year we would buy a truck, and this truck now with adding to 2 more employees to our fleet or to our staff, we're running short on trucks in the summertime. So this year we would be purchasing a truck to add to our fleet. Next year, we'd be selling that truck, and then buying its replacement, and buying an additional truck to replace one of the oldest one we have, this 2001. Is everybody kind of understanding my concept and plan? Okay.
It was part of our capital improvement plan, no?
It is on our capital improvement plan to do that, just that. Yes, that is correct.
Yep.
So right now we have 3 quotes I provided for you. There's 2 from Berger Chevy to purchase a Chevy pickup truck. One is for 50. Just to be clear, these are all these trucks are crew cab, 4-wheel drive, 3/4 ton pickup trucks. There's a $53,000 quote. That's for the basic LT package for a Chevy. And then the $59,000 quote, this is for 1 step up. And then same thing with the Ford here. That would be for the LT basic package in the Ford style. Like I said, I've talked Berry County Road Commission, I think it's been doing it for 10 to 12 years now.
They're doing it for a while before 2016 because
Yeah.
they were having luck with it.
Yeah.
Which is why we looked at
I
it.
noticed the bids in the paper.
Yep.
Yep.
Vehicles are like brand new.
They're a year old. They're literally a year old, and they're selling that every single, yeah. And the thing is with most of the time, the average public that's buying that from them is actually getting a decent deal. That's buying that from, because they're getting it at a lower cost than going out and buying a 1-year-old vehicle. So.
Getting one with air conditioning.
Believe it or not, our 2001 does not have air conditioning, so our summer helper, yeah.
You people got to drive something.
That's for you, right?
Yeah. Honestly, most I grab whatever's available. I'm just going from A to B, so I don't care what I drive. Any questions on that? I'm just kind of looking to move to full council at this point, to move full council to look into purchasing a vehicle not to exceed the $59,845. I'd be open to suggestions, comments, thoughts at your pleasure.
So you plan to buy this for 59,000 and 1 year later
Selling it
selling it for how much approximately?
approximately somewhere between 57 and 59,000. So,
Wash.
yeah, so we're getting a $3,000 to $4,000 discount on or more. Sometimes, the 59, I'm still working with the dealership to find what the retail value is. But if you look at the Ford, for example, the Ford, we're getting it for $2,200 or $2,200 off, excuse me. Plus, as a municipality, average person, they're paying about $5,000 to $6,000 in tax. We're not paying that $5,000 to $6,000 in tax, so we're able So that brand new vehicle would roughly cost the average person about $58,000. We're buying it for $52,000. If we can sell that for $50,000 or $51,000 and
Buy a new
You're
vehicle.
still-
buying a new vehicle for roughly that same price.
So it's initial investment that this rolls and rolls and rolls with the potential for $1,000 here, $2,000 here every year, or even making money and not having to.
Depending
stop.
on the market, yes.
Yeah.
And plus not have to put new tires, not having to do
Right, not the
anything.
maintenance,
Yeah.
which on average, how much annually do you spend on maintenance for your vehicle fleet?
Depends on, it depends on the fleet. I think
It depends on how they age, because we don't put a ton of miles on them. I mean. what do
no,
you
I mean,
average,
prime example,
15,000 a year?
our 2001, I think has 105,000 miles on it. But it's a 2001, we've
Yeah.
replaced the bed once, we've,
Yeah.
you know, we'll buy a 60,000 mile tire
Oh,
for
got
a
it.
truck. And I'm lucky if I get 2.5 years out of a tire.
Right.
So, I mean, we're only putting probably 15,000 miles on a set of tires
So
because
maintenance
we're
is
driving
very
25
low.
miles an hour, just turning circles,
Yeah, okay. So it's
essentially.
pennies on a dollar. really.
Yeah, I roughly, I think our annual maintenance budget for our entire fleet is about 20,000, I think, off the top of my head a year. But that's for our entire fleet. That's just not for the pickup trucks.
Right, right, right.
And that's
Okay.
gone down since we got rid of the Charger.
Yeah.
The Berger quote does include the snowplows.
It does not. So the snowplow, I was looking at getting a snowplow for this truck. I have not included it in this price. I wasn't able to get it in time. So council kind of has options on that. Snowplows typically are $7,000 to $10,000. I can upgrade this quote before I bring it back in front of you and get that fixed, or that does happen to fall within Craig's spending limit if we chose to go that route. If we go snowplow.
So I feel like if we're gonna approve it, we should probably do the whole thing.
Yep.
And do the
And
plow as well.
I will try to get that before next meeting in front of you, if not the last one in August.
Is the plow something that'll go with the truck then? Or is it something that you can drop off of there and put on a new truck?
We'll keep the plow and just rotate the truck.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Do we not
Just
have a
checking.
plow right now?
So we do. We have a plow right now. It's a straight blade plow we bought with our 2016.
Mhm.
My intentions would be we would buy a better equipped plow that would help us with either a wider plow or a
Yeah.
V-blade plow that would help us
Wings and
plowing
V-blades.
cul-de-sacs much more efficiently.
Yeah.
When we would sell this truck,
Mhm.
I would keep the plow and then take the straight blade plow that's on the 2016 and put on the new truck.
Right.
That makes sense. So we would keep the newer plow that we just bought.
So you'd have two plows.
No.
Oh.
I would keep the newer plow I just bought and then take the older plow and put that on the truck and then sell it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I know there's a lot of moving parts to make something like this
Yeah.
work. I think Mike and maybe Kevin were the only ones here when I was.
It might not be a bad idea to keep the extra plow just in case something happens to one of the trucks.
Well, the plow, we only have one pickup truck that plows.
Yeah, right now.
And yes. Yes. And the rest is taken care of by the front end loader.
Yep.
So yeah, correct.
You
Well,
can cross that bridge when you come to it.
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping an additional, just as the village grows, it might be worth having that second plow.
Well, just in case something happens and we have a truck go down.
Yeah.
But
All right.
I don't know. That's a next year problem.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, yeah, if I had my choice, if we were going to be keeping an additional truck with an additional plow, if I had my choice, we would, again, marketability, we would sell everything together.
Yeah.
So we would sell everything together and buy all brand new together.
So it's hard to unwind a plow in a truck. It leaves remnants, holes and screw holes and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
All the bracketry would stay on the truck. It would just be the
Plow.
the plow that you hook up to.
Right.
So
It's easier to sell it with the plow.
Yes.
Is what I'm trying to get at. Moving it to a next council meeting that is available once you get that refresh quote.
Yep.
Plus that'll give some time to digest the program and see the feasibility of it as well. Yeah, that
Not
makes sense.
to exceed, what, 70,000? Is that your motion?
59,800.
With
Well,
the $7,000
the plow would be,
$10,000
if
plow.
we're gonna put a plow on there, it would be about 70, yes.
Yeah,
Seven.
I would just move it and then.
Move it on and then I'll get an updated price for everybody.
Yep, that'd be great.
But the concept is everybody on board with the concept because that's what really, if not, I don't need a crew cab truck. We can scale back quite a bit, but we're looking at the resale value is what we're trying to hit.
So is that your motion, Kevin?
So are we making a motion or just a general consensus?
I'll make a
that he
motion
brings new-
for this to move to the next council meeting to include the price of a plow.
Support.
Support.
We have a motion with support to move the purchase of a DPW vehicle to the next council meeting. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back, Craig. Oh, no, you haven't been up yet. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you.
So Fellowship Host Community.
Yes, so this was originally, this grant request was originally presented to you, I think within like my first 2 or 3 weeks on the job, honestly. But prior to us having Doug in place, and I talked with Community Economic Development Association, and they felt like it'd be best to have somebody on staff full-time that could supervise this fellow if we were to apply for the grant and receive the grant. So now with our upcoming projects, including the Mid-Villa project, the council's wishes with our strategic planning to update our master plan, and then fulfilling our redevelopment ready communities requirements to be recertified next year. We felt like it was a good opportunity to apply for that. And in addition to those opportunities, they can, if you read through the thing, they can look for additional grant opportunities and things like that too. Probably work with Michigan Main Streets and things like that as well. So.
I mean, you're always welcome to apply for grants. I would move to authorize Craig to apply for a grant to be a fellowship host community through the Community Economic Development Association of Michigan.
Or, yep. This specific one requires an action from the council. That's
Wonderful.
why I'm bringing it to you today.
Well, that lead with that next.
We have a motion with support to apply for a grant to be a fellowship host community through the Community Economic Development Association of Michigan. I figured I better read it since it requires the action.
Yep.
So we're authorizing this today, correct?
Yeah, we can do that. And then I can get cracking on getting it completed. So we did receive already a letter of support from the Berry County Economic Development Association. So.
Nice.
All right, we have a motion with support to apply for this grant. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. And if you don't mind, I'll just address real quick. So the item that was removed from the from the agenda, we did receive a letter from Ms. Peters indicating, I sent it all to everybody. And then today, I'll let Mackenzie talk about if she wishes to a little bit more, but a little bit change of heart and maybe not going down that road right now. So planning on having Mackenzie stay on the council for the near future. And I'll let you, if you wanted to talk about it at all, go right ahead if you want to or not.
Don't feel pressured to.
No, you don't need to, but I
Peer
just
pressure.
want, it was a little bit of a,
No,
it was on the agenda and then now
Right.
it's off.
So I had been struggling for a while with workload and not just with the village and the committees I'm on, but also with my job at Carveth. It's I don't know how to put this without being thoroughly quoted.
It's a lot.
I know, full-time job. And so I just felt for my mental health, it might be wise to cut back some of my load that I have on my plate. But, so my knee-jerk reaction was to resign, because this is a voluntary, I mean, we get paid, but also it takes about, if you're doing it right and you're on the committees that I'm assigned to, it takes about 10 to 15 hours a week to do things properly. And to read and reread and look up and reference and
call.
on top of working 60 hours a week, on top of the other committees I'm on for my work. So, it was a lot, but I don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction when I think I can benefit the council and the village still yet. I talked to Craig or Mike earlier about potentially removing me from a couple of committees, so my plate's not so full. And I can breathe a little bit. So that's kind of where we're at. So, and I don't want to quit something, I want to keep doing the term. You finish my term at least, and if I want to rerun, I can, but I didn't want to. That was the biggest thing that I was feeling guilty about, is not completing my term. So,
Good for you.
thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and I want to encourage anybody, I mean, we're all overworked and underpaid and, all these things that are going on right now. But if you ever have any, questions or you want to talk to somebody or whatever, we're here for you for those things, and we can, direct you to, some resources if you need help or whatever. And, but even as much as it's understandable if you need
Yeah.
to step back and just,
Yeah, and plus I got my
Take
dad.
care of
and I
yourself.
got my granddaddy that's coming up, and
Yep.
so it's just a lot personally, so.
good. Well, we've got some good listening ears in the office if anybody needs. And, I encourage all the staff to take care of themselves all the time. A lot of times I'm, reminding them that they need to
Yeah.
do those things and take some time off. And so just want to let you know that, whatever you need. So,
Yeah, well, thank you.
all right.
Thank you. We will move on to public comment. Welcome, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, council. So any of you that may not be aware, tonight is a plan commission meeting. We're going to have the proposals that we've received from the 36 State Street property. The plan commission is going to be reviewing those for alignment with master plan and zoning ordinance. So you're certainly welcome to attend. Just want to make sure that you're aware of this, as it'll come back to this board.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes.
Unless there's somebody else. Okay, just want to remind you guys, I did send, or not you guys, you all. I sent out an agenda to everybody. I know you're not all participating in community exchange, but I did send an agenda out to everyone. That is on Monday here and next Monday in Lowell. I was a little nervous about all the pieces, but they're falling into place. So
That takes a lot to.
Life is good.
So we
Life
really
is good.
appreciate your work on that.
Rhonda's doing a fantastic job with that.
I know that was,
enough that I didn't even tell you what's happening.
I know.
that was never the highlight of Elaine's year either, so.
I've actually had a good time working on it. So it was a nice diversion from things I normally just do. So,
Perfect. Thank you. Any other public comment? We will move on to final council comment. Anyone start?
Yeah.
Mr. Hamilton?
Yeah, I got a phone call from a resident who lives on Thornton Street. And I haven't had time to talk to Craig or anything, but they're concerned about the traffic that cuts through there. They miss the light and go up Main Street, and they're concerned with speeding on that street. I presume it's probably happening on Edward too, or whatever. I told them that I would refer this to the proper folks here. And the other thing was, they were also concerned about new residents that moved in, one resident, I guess, that doesn't understand that you don't leave your trash can out there all week after it's empty to blow with the wind, and you can't park your camper forever. Referring to that, I can tell you later who.
I think I know who it is.
Okay. Lived in Middleville for about 60 years.
Yep.
Graduated here after me?
Yep.
High school?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know who it is.
Anyway, she had great ideas. She had great ideas. And you know all about it?
Mhm.
Good. All right. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we can make sure the appropriate parties are informed of your issues.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Mackenzie?
Well, just thank you for the opportunity to speak on issues. Hope you can understand and receive kindly and repeat kindly. So, other than that, I have two things. One is Heritage Days. Even though it's a little bit late, we have the parade permit coming up next week. I turned that into Rhonda a week and a half ago. And then, so I'm hoping that we'll get a lot of participation for the parade. I emailed Alec a list of, are those all correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I owe you an email.
Okay. All right, for all the locations we need blockades at, and I've got, if all those work out, I've got people for each, so we're good there. And then the third thing is the Berry County Commissioners meeting on the 27th. Which they'll be reviewing and voting on the Vitmid Villa. And the only thing I'm going to say to that is I'll be there, sharing my support and representing our unanimous decision to move forward on that. And it's really highly encouraged for anyone who can attend to attend that meeting at 9 a.m. if you can. The more the merrier. And I've been trying to gather people who have, come to me saying they need housing or they have family who requires housing. I'll give a short story if you will indulge me. One of my staff members, her son just moved home and they were trying to get an apartment in Hastings, and that's upwards of $1,600 a month for something simple. They would really enjoy having something that's still close to Hastings and be able to work in the area at $1,200 to $1,300 a month. So that's a really good example of why this is needed. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Mr. Bishop?
I live on Edward Street, and I can say that that the neighborhood has always been known for being driven through slow. So when you drive through it at the speed limit, people get mad. Also, Thornton, I believe, is the street that has the basketball hoop constantly sitting on it. So I think if people on Thornton are wanting to start complaining about things coming down their street, you gotta look at what they're doing too. Because once you draw attention to things, it doesn't go away.
Oh, you want to go up and tell them
They're, they're my neighbors. I'm fairly certain I've probably told them already. I would like to say that as a side note, sort of adjacent to yours, having spoken with the public quite a bit since fair, I have been completely disheartened and questioning whether or not I'm right for this role. Mostly because what I hear from the public is that all politicians at every level are corrupt. We're doing a good job on the board, but we're doing it for the great wealth that we get of the, $3,000 a year? So that has corrupted all of us. And none of us is fit to serve this board because we don't have the qualifications. My concern is if that is how people feel, then I'm not the person to serve them. But also, there's no one else really doing it. So I don't know. No one meets the qualifications that I've heard from the public. So like none of us, no candidate ever. But also, I don't know what to do.
All you have to do is uphold the Constitution of the United States of America.
Oh, man, but they don't like that.
Well, that's tough. Go live somewhere else.
Needs to be
Wait.
a document called the Bill of Rights.
Oh, yeah, well, that we have freedom of speech, but a lot of what the public doesn't want you to do is use it, freely. They want you to do it in your own home where they don't have to look at it. that sort of thing concerns me. For a
It's
community that's
disheartening.
very Republican and very law and order, to take the stance, let's just disregard the law, I'm not a fan of. A third thing, having talked with Doug and having talked with Mike, I couldn't figure out at the time what it was. I think we made a wrong decision. I don't think it needs to be revisited. I think in the future, it should be considered. For the ORV laws, if we, like for Bradford White, when we said, hey, let's let them use the golf carts. I think that still opens us up to liability, simply because it is no longer going to be our law, our ordinance that we are going to be giving permission to violate. It'll be a state of Michigan law. And so we don't have the right to tell Bradford White that they can violate the state of Michigan's law. So in the future, I believe what President Kramer said is we should just close down the street then. That is perfectly within our rights to do. I'm okay with that. But I think, we made the wrong, articulated at the time. I figured it out later what I thought was wrong. So I just want to go on the record with that, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point.
Mr. Baldry?
I'm glad Mackenzie is staying, believe it or not, as I'm driving around Orangeville today and all over the place. I'm formulating this speech that I'm gonna give, trying to convince her to stay. She's does a great job here. She's good for our community, and she's dynamite for our residents. And I'd be glad to take some of your load, whatever you need. I only serve on one board, and that's the zoning board of appeals, and I've only met once. If you want me to help you with something, I will.
That's a really important board. That's where we find out our ordinances are broken.
Yeah. It was like I was on a board review, though. You got to help people. That's kind of cool. But, and then the other thing, a couple other things, but with regard to what you're saying, I was really disappointed when I worked the fair. I did not have one resident, anybody, approach me about the Mid-Villa, about the Pride event, which everybody wanted to complain about, different things. I had not one person come up to me and talk about anything. And then the other thing is that I've voiced my opinion on it before about Facebook. I've gently entered into the world of Facebook.
That might have been a bad call.
Not sure if I need to order a suit of armor or not, but I really haven't posted any comments or not. As I am listening to what people are writing and stuff. And I'm just amazed how somebody will throw something out there that they think is fact, which isn't, and then 50 people pile on and agree with them. I can't, it's like they're being led around by the unknowing, but yet I don't see one of them here. And I don't see anybody knocking on my door to ask a question. Nobody calls me on the phone. We have a landline is listed, and that type of thing. So with regards to what you're saying is I think that's a very small percentage of the residents of Middle. I think the high percentage is just the opposite of what you're talking about. Or at least I'll speak for my own neighborhood, and that would be true. So that was it. The only other thing for me is I started that asset training yesterday in 25 hours, and I've got 3 Zooms lined up for it. So, see. That was it for me.
Well, be careful when you buy your armor for Facebook. It's a non-fungible token and it costs.
Well, if you look up my name, you'll see that my name and a picture of Steve McQueen. That's exactly.
Problem solved.
That's funny.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you for reconsidering. I think that the village would be less of a village without your leadership. So I'm glad that you're reconsidering, and I'll echo everybody else's commentary in the sense that it's, it takes a lot of different perspectives. It takes a lot of different, in some regards, sometimes it's different opinions that drive the right decision at the end of the day. And whether we agree or disagree collectively as a board or individually, I think, this has been one of the most civil and frankly easy to work with boards, certainly in my tenure, and that's not been that long. But it certainly makes it palatable, and it makes it, while there's still challenges, I think it's all for the better of the community. And I think you have a heart to serve the community, and I think that's a good choice.
Thank you.
Robert, nobody's qualified. Our president isn't qualified.
No.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, nobody's qualified for any role in public service. I'm going to double down on perspective and opinion. And again, we don't have to agree or disagree. We all are in this to serve our community. And frankly, everyone's opinion matters. Everyone's perspective matters. And, without you, you would not be representing the people that really look to you to speak their mind in a place like this. And if people are reaching out to you throughout the year, that means that you are vocalizing the community. So that's all you need to be qualified. And I would argue it's not a comfortable place. Public service isn't comfortable in general. So I would say everyone's done a stalwart job on this board, and I'm privileged to serve with each of you. So just to say that. On a more formal note, I'm going to talk to you, Greg. I received a newsletter and read through it, and it's really interesting. I want to double down on the fact that this is a nonpartisan board. We're not Democrat, we're not Republican. All right, we're not included in the primaries, so it doesn't matter. We're supposed to look at issues in our community, be they LGBTQ, be they ORV, be they taxes, whatever the case may be. The fact remains is that we have to look at all of the decisions that we make, not as a partisan party, but as servants to the community. It is very clear when we enter into public service here that it is a nonpartisan role. With that said, I did read a newsletter I felt was poorly written with regard to our public housing initiative here. And I'm going to just throw out some information. And I believe that if you are, and I'm going to speak directly to the Republican Party, I agree with a lot of the philosophies of the Republican Party, and this particular issue, I agree fully with their perspective. And that is a public act, the Senate Bill 923 of 1996, which is also referred to as Public Act 381 of 1996. I love to read, and I love reading about this sort of thing. So I apologize in advance that this may be a little boring. I'm going to list off a list of people. Philip Hoffman, District 19, Leon Still, District 32, Lauren Bennett, District 8, Bill Schuette, District 35, Joel Gouchon, District 34, and Dale Sugars, District 21. They have one thing in common. One. They are all Republicans. And we have a Republican commissioner, and we have a public board that serves them that identify as Republicans. I received a newsletter that was erroneous in its facts and its opinion when it comes to Republican intent. The Public Act of 381 was to create and provide for exemption from certain state and local property taxes. And it was under the program of economic and industrial development, environmental protection, cleanups, state funds, and property tax. The reality of it is that this entire TIF program, which this is what is also referring to, the TIF program, its beginning started with a group of Republicans that said, we have polluted lands, we have undeveloped lands, we have land that's just sitting there that nobody's interested in. We would like to spur economic development. Now, I don't know what path Republicans have followed that don't follow that curve, But to start with a large corporate or wealthy individual that wants to come in and throw $20 million at something I'm not capable of doing. I would assume most of the residents in the village of Middleville don't have 22 million laying in their back pocket. The fact of the matter is that when there is somebody interested in investing in our community, there are tools that they can take advantage of. And in this particular case, the TIF program its origins came from a group of Republicans that said, hey, we've got this land, we want to add tax to our tax roll, and we're going to do that through economic development or development of land and provide opportunity to generate wealth from the top down. Now, in reality, this particular program has been quoted as a cash grab. And anybody that writes about a developer spending $22 million to save $2 million as a cash grab, I would vehemently disagree with that on the grounds of Middleville as a whole is a collective of businesses that want to be appealing to a collective of businesses and residents that make Middleville their home. That generates tax dollars, that generates growth, it develops sidewalks, it builds parks, it creates revenue for the businesses that are in town. I fail to miss the point that when you invest in a community, it doesn't benefit that community in the long run. Now, maybe today's microwave Republican decides that it's a cash grab because they don't understand the TIF program. It's multiple documents that are pretty sleepy if you read through them, but the reality of it is this program is designed specifically for people like Mr. Hybor who want to invest in our community, because you can rest assured that if he doesn't invest here, he's going to take that money and invest somewhere else where they are going to see the value of top-down, trickle-down, Reaganomics, call it whatever you want. It is a heavily conservative perspective, and the reality is that it should be getting our party's vote. So if you're misinformed, read the newsletter. Yeah, it's a cash grab, but if you are a full-on stalwart Republican, you recognize that when money is entered into a particular economic environment, it's going to generate jobs and opportunity for everybody that it impacts. So in this particular case, nobody's losing money except for the village of Middleville when we defer our tax roll for 10 to 15 years and allow Mr. Hybor to develop an apartment complex that's going to give housing that's affordable, that's reasonably equipped with amenities. It's a nominal impact on traffic. And furthermore, and this is my favorite part, it's going to raise the property value of everything around it. So unless everyone is missing the boat on why this particular program was developed, I assure you that my Republican brethren have fully vetted the idea that if you invest in a blank piece of land, whether there's pollution on it or not, the fact remains is that that will be an economic boon to our community. So it's going to revitalize an abandoned property of which the TIF program was developed. It's going to attract a developer who will take such properties and stimulate jobs, economic growth, and increase property value. And at the end of the day, I cannot fully comprehend why the village has unanimously approved this project. We understand that it's going to be a boon to our community, and yet people waffle about whether or not it's a good or bad investment, or a good or bad use of that land. In my opinion, this should be an easy win for our community, and I hope that that August 27th we can uncover any misunderstanding that might be surrounding this particular project, and understand that this is very much a conservative investment in our community that will generate tax roll down the line. It will empower people to move to Middleville at an affordable rate. It will bolster the ability for companies in our area to increase their productivity and bolster their output. And furthermore, it will give everyone who owns a business and owns property in Middleville the opportunity to earn their business and take a slight boost to their property values. And so with that, I know that I was on a soapbox there, but this is a really important project for our community. I think we all recognize that, and I would hope that in the coming weeks that we can contemplate that. And I'm fully available for anybody to email me and discuss the finer points of where the TIF came from. But at this stage of the game, I'm hoping that those details are easily discovered and understood by a little bit of research.
And I also hope it shows up in the newspaper. You need to, no, I won't tell you what you need to do, but it'd be great if you went on the 27th at 9.
Oh, I will definitely be there. I am definitely going to be there.
Let's all remember that these are now online meetings, and if Rhonda sends you the link, you could probably share them to your personal social media so that anybody that wants to call you out for being some sort of a criminal can just watch the recording and get it verbatim.
Also, I caught that, Steve.
Anything else?
That'll do it.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
I just have to say, I'm glad to know you have resigned your resignation. Thank you very much. Thanks for continuing to stay. Girl power. We need girls up here. I can't be the only one. That's all.
Thank you.
I like strong female role models for my kids. Good ones. So thank you again for sticking around. I'm going to stay off the soapbox because I feel like we've beaten that topic right down. So let's wash the palate here and come out with something positive. Middleville ASO is a glutton for punishment. So we did a fantastic job, getting almost 900 people into the middle school gym for the father-daughter dance. We're going to do it for moms and sons on October 19th. This time, because I know balloons that are pink don't really fit in October, we're going to do a glow party. So moms and sons, the registration will open soon. There'll be flyers, but it is Sweetest Day weekend for you. Wear your fluorescent clothing. We're going to try and have face painting there so that everybody glows sufficiently in the dark. We'll have glow stuff for them and balloons and black lights, and it's going to be amazing. I will be at the door making sure everybody's got a wristband and make sure kids go home with the right people, just like I usually do. It is the single most intense 4 hours of my life every year, and it is probably the best 4 hours I ever worked. So thanks for letting us continue to do that. We hope to see you there. I know moms and sons have been complaining about them not having something to do, and we tried one. It didn't really work out because I'm not a big fan of chaos, and that was chaos. So we're going to try something a little more organized. So look for that. Hopefully that cleansed the palate enough because politics sucks.
Yes, they do.
That being said, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. Motion would be in order.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting, Mr. President.
Support.
We have a motion with overwhelming support to adjourn. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. I was waiting for it. I didn't hear it.
I was off.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Any word from the fourth estate? Nay.
So,